There's so many different spiritual practices and methods, disciplines, such as yoga, different types of Buddhism, and they're very old. But today I would like to talk about one that I've encountered that is not that old, not that ancient, and it is called Latihan. I stumbled over it during my time in India, um, because Osho also talked about it, and yeah, therefore I would like to talk about my personal experiences. So first of all, I would just like to read a short description of what it is, just something that I found on Wikipedia, but I found it was a really good description. So yeah. Latihan is a form of spiritual practice that originated in Indonesia and is quite new in comparison to most other techniques. The practitioners are advised to surrender to what arises from within, not expecting anything in advance, but simply to intend to surrender to the divine or the will of God. Typically it's done in groups, and there's often someone who is opening others. I think originally, if I'm not wrong, it was like someone was raising the arms into the sky, the founder of it, and noticed that some strange thing, some energy, something divine was flowing into him, was just trying to express itself. And yeah, he was then opening other people in his presence, and then it became a practice. And yeah, it sounds strange, but let's look into this. And what is happening is that when people start doing certain things, not voluntarily, it just happens like a flow. So they start moving, can be strange, or flowing movements, doesn't matter, also sounds, but whatever arises should be felt, expressed spontaneously. And yes, Osho has talked about it, and yeah, it was kind of interesting to hear about Latihan, but he has said that he personally wouldn't advise it to do it alone as a practice, but always in combination with something else. And what I've done, which was kind of nice, was his Mahamudra meditation, where you have half an hour of Latihan and then afterwards prayer meditations. So if you are interested in Latihan, I would advise you to try out Mahamudra. You can find the meditation online if you just Google Osho Mahamudra meditation or search for the music on Spotify. So yeah. But my experience was, yeah, it's kind of surprising, and it works, that you kind of relax the entire body and then you just let it flow, and very slowly you start doing movements. And I was doing them on the floor, standing, and did it with others. It was very relaxing, soothing, felt very present. But as I said, it is only a technique, only a method. But what becomes really interesting is when this kind of method, which is called Latihan, is not a method anymore, but an actual experience from moment to moment. When you've got this feeling, intuitive feeling, that something higher, something, yeah, if you want to call it divine, something nature, it feels very nature, it's kind of moving through you, and you're not in the way, and you're just expressing it, following it. often I had with like Kundalini shakings from his meditations, Osho's meditations, that just happened spontaneously when I don't do anything, and it still happens. And blockages are kind of removed, energetic blockages. Oh, when I just feel like dancing and just flow with it. And at a certain point, if you become very quiet, very centered, and the ego almost disappears or is not really in the way, or if you go to complete enlightenment, when you are complete zero, as Osho said, there's nothing or no one in the way, when everything is dissolved and just flow of spontaneous energy. When you kind of move into this direction or kind of get a sense of it, this is where this practice, where actually I think Latihan is not a practice anymore, but just life itself expressing and flowing, becomes very intuitive and very juicy. And when I was in India, sometimes when I was very present and felt very in tune, I was like, everything was just flowing, and I could see, or there was seeing that I'm just walking. I'm not doing anything. When I go to the dinner or lunch, I was just serving myself, or the arm was moving to this plate and to that one. I was taking some, let's say, vegetables or soup, but not the other one, and your body intuitively feels what it needs. And everything becomes very flowing. And I would like to talk about this because I think many people have never heard of Latihan. But I think if they are seeking, or even not, they have had experiences where they felt, okay, something was just magical, I didn't do anything or didn't plan anything, just things started happening. Yes, because your little ego is not in the way, because you are not planning, not trying to organize, not trying to achieve or do something. You just flow with life. Maybe not for a long time, just a few minutes or seconds, but that is kind of enough to kind of get a taste from it. But if you know that it is not bullshit and you can trust this, it's going to deepen and to expand, and you can live that way. Or life can be lived and expressed this way. And all those worries start to disappear. Because from moment to moment there's this flow. But there's not really that sense of anyone is really doing it. It is easier to do it when you're in nature, on your own. I also experienced this in the past, some years ago, with psychedelics, mushrooms or acid, that I always had this feeling that something higher, like an intelligence, was trying to go through me. I just needed to let go and do whatever it wanted me to do. But at this point, I wasn't really ready for it to really do it, because many shadows wanted to be exposed, but there was too much contraction. I still remember when I was one time when I was on LSA, it's like a substitute of acid, where the visuals are more intense. I started like, just flowing with it, but at a certain point I was like, what the fuck, I'm doing weird stuff. I'm like taking off my clothes and just like, I was at home and doing like a weird like movements of sun salutations or like headstand, or like I didn't fully do it, but I could see that I was doing it. It was happening, and I would just do it in the hallway. And if I would continue to do this for I don't know a while, my mind got like like fear started to kick in and anxiety, and because I could see like, okay, fuck, soon my parents are going to come home, and if I'm here like completely naked doing weird stuff, I think I'm going completely mad. But it felt so natural. if there's no one that is getting in the way. But doing it on psychedelics is a different thing. Frank Young said, shadow work on psychedelics is like steroids when going to the gym. And this is kind of true. I mean, I haven't taken steroids, but the rest, yes. Everything gets more amplified on psychedelics, also your shadows, and when you can face them. But there's always this question, okay, if you're really ready for it, to being exposed to those things, it will come naturally. You don't have to take any drugs for it, any substances, even if it can help up to a certain point. But if you still do it, and if you're kind of young and not so, let's say, naive, not so, don't think about everything, you just do it, and then you need to kind of see what comes through it. But I could see that, and it's the same right now for me. Doesn't matter, like right now being sober, but more present, but in the past on, let's say, when I was tripping, that if I would allow, there's not even but if this can be allowed and there's no resistance to life or this energy entering you and going through your body, it feels so good. But of course there can be fear as well. Certain shadows are being exposed. For instance, at this time, like being completely naked, like I was so insecure about my body and also being perceived as crazy. I wanted to be liked so much by others and wanted to be seen in a good way and getting validation and everything. And if you're completely naked and doing a sun salutation or a headstand in front of your parents, I think you can hear that this creates some problems for the ego, for the body mind. When I talk about it, I like sharing things and also showing myself, and not being like so I don't know, so strict and so fucking dry as it's common in other disciplines and spiritual disciplines. I like to have fun, be joyful, and just go with it. So let me share a little bit more. One time I was also taking shrooms, like a 4 gram. And at this point I was already meditating a lot and I was much more sensitive and I wanted to try them out and listen to Terence McKenna and thought like, in the dark, a heroic dose would be perfect. But I was intuitively felt, maybe not 5 grams, 4 would be enough. And for sure it was more than enough. And the trip was going on and on and on and on. And at a certain point, I was like tripping in a friend's room in a student building, and at a certain point I noticed like, what the fuck, like when I was going with it, flow with it, high intelligence, however you want to call it, I was in his room and I started to like take off all my clothes. And at this point I was again like, my mind was like, what the fuck is going on? And I already knew this from other trips. And I was like, oh, come on, please, not again. But it was so strong, that pull, so intense, that I felt like, fuck, I need to do this. Otherwise I was feeling dizzy and just like not good. And I was like, okay, then take off your clothes. And then I felt comfortable for a little while. But then when I walked towards the door that I kind of locked and started to unlock it, I was like, what the fuck, no, I can't do this, I can't leave the room. But after resisting a little bit here and there, again the pull was so strong, so intense, But I just opened the door and I was completely naked, and I started going into the kitchen and doing like just like dancing from one side to the other. And I was not even sure if people were seeing me outside, but I was on a completely different level. But still like being able to think a little bit, and I was doing weird stuff and things like just like to keep it short, like exposing shadow aspects. Like right now it's much more clearer to me. And then I was like walking on the hallway and like bumping from one wall into the other. And I was like, what the fuck? And luckily no one was there. And before the trip, I was, one of my intentions was like, I want to be better with girls. This was the intention. So I was walking down the hall when I was getting so dizzy when I was resisting. So I was like, okay, just go, just flow. And I could see that I was walking onto the like stairs at the end of the hallway outside on like some kind of balcony. And before I felt like so much resistance, but I was tripping my balls off. And I was like, fuck, like I just do it. And then I was going outside, standing there completely naked and just watching everything. Man, everything was so calm, so peaceful, so clear. Until I heard like a weird sound and I turned to the left. There was a girl sitting. She was like, "Hey," and I was like, in my mind, at this point, I don't know. I became completely sober. I was not tripping anymore. I noticed what was going on. I was like, my mind, fuck. So I just, I didn't say anything. I slowly turned around, walked back, and I just started running into my room and, yeah, like panicking. And there it became again very clear to me, because I've tried enough with psychedelics, that the question is if you're really ready to being exposed to those kind of things. At the end of the day, I got what I wanted, becoming better with girls. But the mushroom or life, if you open up, doesn't give you what you want, like the way you want it to have. Kind of gives you what you need. The question is if you're ready for it, if you're willing to open or not. And right now it's the same in my experience. Being sober, but much more present. If you're opening or closing. And I think like you shouldn't see this whole seeking and spiritual path and so like see it so seriously. You can laugh about it, as I'm sharing this story, just laugh about it. And don't take yourself so seriously. But when you try out Latihan, or I would say Mahamudra meditations, not doing it alone. I don't know why, but Osho suggested it, so I kind of trust him. And if you go with it and kind of get in tune with it and meditate a little bit more and more, just wake up and go with that flow. As if you're doing it a practice. And at this point, it's not a practice anymore. It becomes life. It becomes your way of living, spontaneous, flowing. And often you will not know what you're doing. Actually, never you will know. And you will feel fear or resistance. But if you're very soft and open up, not in like the story with the mushrooms, but just allow to kind of see what life wants from you, how it wants to unfold through you, flow through you, very gently, just trying it out. You will see there will be a lot of weight, a lot of fucking psychological luggage that will just fall away. And life will be much more flowing. Right now. So, If you want to be more in tune with your intuition, Latihan is a very good practice. And now again, I've shared some personal things. What I want also other kind of YouTubers in the spiritual community to do, to not be so serious, to show their face, and kind of ruined again a little bit of my reputation. And yeah. And just seeing that if you follow your intuition at the end of the day, nothing happens. People don't care. So just do it. Sometimes they will think you're sad. Not sad, that you're mad, that you go crazy. Let them think. Their thoughts are their business, not yours. Let life take care of you. And those thoughts will slowly disappear, this fear. And you will feel much more comfortable wherever you are. You will feel at home, at ease, at peace. And then at a certain point, you're going also to flow with people that trigger you a lot. With your partner, old friends, parents. And if it doesn't feel right anymore, you just leave them. But stay with them. And also see how you can be very free inside of their presence. But rule number one should always be yourself. Prioritize yourself. Be in the presence of life and enjoy. That's not too bad. It's fun. That's it for today. Enjoy the weather. Go outside. Flow. But don't think. Bye bye.